This is the Pre-Existing Products webinar series, part 3 of a 3-part series covering pre-existing tobacco products. We recommend you view parts 1 and 2 of the series before viewing part 3. Additional resources on pre-existing tobacco products can be found on FDA's website, including guidance documents to assist industry with pre-existing tobacco product determination request. Links to these resources are included in the resources slide of this presentation. This webinar will provide an overview of the steps taken by FDA when requested to determine the status of a pre-existing tobacco product. In this webinar, we will describe initial agency review, including unable to accept letters, unable to review letters, and acknowledgement letters. Further, we will explain what a request for information, or RFI letter is, and the circumstances under which FDA may send an RFI letter. This webinar will also provide information regarding amendments and withdrawals to pre-existing submissions. We will outline the possible types of determinations that the agency makes after completing its review of pre-existing submissions and how the submitter will be notified. Finally, we will provide answers to frequently asked questions from submitters. In the following slides, we will discuss the process for agency review. Once a submission is received, FDA conducts an initial review of the submission. If accepted, an acknowledgement letter is issued. This letter will include the official receipt date and the assigned submission tracking number, or STN, which will begin with the letters PX. If a submission is not accepted, the FDA may issue an Unable to Accept, or UTA letter. UTA letters are sent when the firm intends to request a pre-existing status determination for more than one tobacco product, but fails to provide a separate submission for each tobacco product. Multiple submissions may be submitted in one package or envelope if mailing to the FDA, but each pre-existing request should be clearly identified in separate documents. If a submission is issued a UTA, the firm may resubmit its pre-existing status determination requests in separate submissions. After accepting the submission, FDA will review components of the submission. FDA may issue an Unable to Review, or UTR letter to the submitter, and close out the submission request and submission tracking number, or STN, based on errors such as missing information, submitting evidence in a language other than English, or if FDA determines that the product is not a tobacco product. Common issues which may result in a UTR letter are outlined in this slide. The UTR letter will describe the specific issues in the submission. If the UTR letter is issued, the submitter may resubmit once it corrects the submission. The submission will be treated as a new submission, and a new acknowledgement letter and STN will be issued. As discussed earlier, after FDA accepts a pre-existing submission and assigns an STN and sends an acknowledgement letter, the agency begins reviewing individual components of the submission. Components reviewed include the tobacco product name, tobacco product description, evidence of commercial marketing, test marketing statement, and whether there is adequate linking of evidence submitted to the pre-existing product. These components are discussed in detail in Part 2 of this 3-part webinar series, but we will summarize these components in the next few slides. When a submission is received, the FDA will review the tobacco product's name. As a reminder, submissions should include the full and the exact name of the tobacco product, as it was commercially marketed in the United States on February 15, 2007. The name should include both the brand and the sub-brand of the product and should be consistent throughout the submission. Even if the product name changed after February 15, 2007, the submission should consistently reference the product name as commercially marketed as of February 15, 2007. FDA reviews the applicant's description of the tobacco product and corresponding unique identifiers. All submissions should include the unique identifying characteristics of the product. Examples include, but are not limited to, package type, quantity, length, diameter, tobacco cut size, portion mass, flavor, or an indication the product does not have a flavor, and any other characteristic that would uniquely identify the tobacco product. Each tobacco product type will have their own identifiers. Additional information regarding unique identifiers can be found in the Substantial Equivalence Rule, published October 5, 2021, and in Table 1 of 21, Code of Federal Regulations, Section 1107.18, C. 7, III. When submitting a standalone pre-existing submission, you may submit a test marketing statement. Reminder, a test marketing statement is a statement that the product, including those products in test markets, was commercially marketed in the United States as of February 15, 2007. If the pre-existing product is intended to be a predicate product in the substantial equivalence, or SE, pathway, the test marketing statement must state that the product was commercially marketed, other than for test marketing, in the United States as of February 15, 2007. This confirmation should be submitted in the form of a statement from a responsible official who has knowledge of the test marketing status of the tobacco product in the United States as of February 15, 2007, and has authority to make such a statement. FDA will review evidence provided to establish that the product was commercially marketed in the United States as of February 15, 2007. Commercially marketed means selling or offering for sale a tobacco product in the United States to consumers or to any person for the eventual purchase by consumers in the United States. The submission should provide evidence that the product was commercially marketed in the United States as of February 15, 2007. All evidence of commercial marketing should be dated. Examples of documentation of commercial marketing include advertisements, catalog pages, promotional material, trade publications, bills, invoices, purchase orders, inventory list, receipts, and manufacturing documents. All evidence and content should be submitted in English. Product name and its unique identifiers submitted in evidence should be consistent throughout the submission to properly link the evidence and product. All evidence of commercial marketing should be dated and include the product's full name, abbreviation, symbol, or reference used to identify that product. The name and identification should be consistent throughout all documents and should clearly identify the link between any abbreviation, symbol, or reference used in the evidence. FDA recommends that unique identifiers be listed in the same manner as when they were marketed in the United States on February 15, 2007. Additional information or explanation about the product in the evidence may also be helpful. Now we will discuss Request for Information, or RFI for short. During the review of the submission, The FDA may contact the submitter to request additional information, evidence, or to clarify parts of the submission in order for FDA to complete its review. FDA may issue a request for information, or RFI letter. The RFI outlines the information FDA needs to complete its review. The RFI specifies how long the submitter has to respond before FDA continues their review, generally 30 calendar days from the date the letter was received. Common reasons for requests for information include when a component of the submission is inconsistent or unclear. Submissions should include the full exact name, including brand and sub-brand, of the tobacco product as it was commercially marketed in the United States on February 15, 2007, even if the product name has changed since then. Inconsistent naming may result in an RFI. Unique identifying characteristics of the product, such as package type, quantity, length, diameter, tobacco cut size, portion mass, and flavor should be consistent and clear throughout the submission. For example, if the information submitted does not clearly identify the tobacco product flavor, such as none, menthol, etc., the submitter may be asked to identify the tobacco product flavor. Adequate evidence demonstrates that the tobacco product was commercially marketed in the United States as of February 15, 2007. If the submission does not appear to include adequate evidence demonstrating that the tobacco product was commercially marketed as of February 15, 2007, the submitter may be asked to provide additional evidence. In a previous slide, we explained that when submitting a standalone, pre-existing submission, you may submit a test marketing statement, and the statement should be submitted by a responsible official who has the proper knowledge of the test marketing and commercial marketing status of the tobacco product as of February 15, 2007, and has the authority to make such a statement. If the submission does not include an adequate test marketing statement that the tobacco product was commercially marketed in the United States on February 15, 2007, an RFI may be sent notifying you that no test marketing statement was submitted. If you intend to demonstrate that the product is predicate eligible, your PX submission should include a test marketing statement that states the product was commercially marketed, other than exclusively for test marketing, in the United States as of February 15, 2007. On the slide is an example of a test marketing statement for pre-existing products intended to serve as a predicate product. For FDA to review evidence provided in a submission, FDA recommends including information that links the tobacco product and the evidence submitted. Any commercial marketing evidence that is provided should consistently name the product throughout the submission. Each piece of evidence submitted should be dated and have a brief statement or chart that clearly identifies the link between any abbreviation, symbol, or reference used in the evidence, such as an item number and/or product description in the evidence. An RFI may be issued if there is insufficient or inconsistent linking to the provided evidence. In a response to an FDA request for information letter, you should provide all requested information before the due date indicated in the letter. Generally, FDA will request the information be provided within 30 calendar days of receipt of the RFI letter. After the due date has passed, FDA will proceed with its review based on all of the information submitted, including any information received in response to the RFI within that time frame. During that time, if the submitter has additional questions, the submitter may contact CTP fda-preexisting at fda.hhs.gov with their questions. After the FDA has received a response to the RFI, or the response time specified in the RFI has passed and no timely response is received, FDA will continue its review and make a determination based on all information received in its totality. Now we will discuss amendments. Amendments may be useful if a submitter notices an error or inconsistency in a submission. The submitter may amend the submission to correct inaccuracies during the review process. Any changes to a pre-existing determination may affect past, pending, or future substantial equivalence reports and/or exemption requests. This is to ensure the information included in amendments is consistent with all related submissions. Amendments are submitted using the same method as a pre-existing tobacco product submission, electronically, via the CTP portal, using FDA's eSubmitter, or mail to CTP's Document Control Center, or DCC. Any amendment should include the assigned STN and the word amendment in the subject line. FDA does not issue acknowledgement letters for amendment submissions. Now we will discuss requests for withdrawals. A submitter may withdraw its pre-existing status determination submission at any time, including after the product was determined to be pre-existing. When submitting the withdrawal request, you should include the assigned STN and withdrawal in the subject line. If a submitter withdraws its submission from review, it may resubmit a request for the same tobacco product at a later date. The new submission will be given a new PX STN number, and a new review will be conducted independent of any other pre-existing tobacco product reviews. Any withdrawn pre-existing submissions will be removed from FDA's Searchable Tobacco Products database. Now we will discuss the types of pre-existing determinations. Once FDA completes its review, the submitter will be notified by letter of the final determination. There are 3 possible determinations. 1. The product is determined to be pre-existing, but is not eligible to serve as a predicate product. 2. The product is determined to be both pre-existing and eligible to serve as a predicate. Or 3. FDA is unable to determine whether the product is a pre-existing tobacco product. FDA's Searchable Tobacco Products database, which can be found at www.fda.gov/searchtobacco, contains a list of tobacco products that may be legally marketed in the United States, including pre-existing tobacco products. The database is designed to serve the public and is updated on a monthly basis. An example of a pre-existing tobacco product status determination letter appears on this slide. The letter will state whether the product is considered pre-existing and/or if the tobacco product may also be eligible to serve as a predicate tobacco product. The pre-existing tobacco product is added to the FDA's Searchable Tobacco Product database, including the name of the tobacco product as it was commercially marketed in the United States as of February 15, 2007, the category of the product, and the name of the company, request submitter. Remember, modifications made to the tobacco product after February 15, 2007 would render the product a new tobacco product and would be subject to pre-market review requirements under the FD&C Act. In this slide is an example of an unable to determine pre-existing tobacco product status letter. If at the end of our review we have received insufficient information to make a pre-existing status determination, FDA will issue an unable to determine pre-existing status letter. This is not a final agency action and does not preclude a firm from providing a revised submission. A resubmission will be treated as a new submission and will be assigned a new STN number and undergo a new review without regard to the previously submitted information. For specific questions about your pre-existing tobacco product submissions, please contact ctp-preexisting@fda.hhs.gov. Be sure to reference the assigned STN in the inquiry. Please note, FDA reviews the submission to determine if it meets the definition of a pre-existing tobacco product. During this process, FDA generally cannot provide a specific date by which the review will be completed, as FDA does not give status updates or timelines regarding the review status of a pre-existing tobacco product's review. Here is a list of resources you can use to get more information on the topics we've discussed. Please connect with us on social media and sign up for CTP email updates. This concludes the webinar. Thank you for your attention.